Welcome back to our news bulletin. Over 1,200 more people have died from COVID-19 in the US as the death toll crossed 102,000. Worldwide, the death count has crossed 365,000 with over 5.9 million infections. The coronavirus pandemic continues to ravage countries and lives across the world. In Brazil, authorities have reported 1,124 deaths in the last 24 hours and a record number of over 26,000 new cases. The U.S. still remains the hardest hit so far, but has taken an aggressive approach towards the World Health Organization. President Donald Trump says he is terminating the U.S. relationship with the WHO over its handling of COVID-19.
Because they have failed to make the requested and greatly needed reforms, we will be today terminating our relationship with the World Health Organization and redirecting those funds to other worldwide and deserving urgent global public health needs.
China has reported 4 new confirmed cases of coronavirus, all brought from outside the country, and no new deaths. Now, Indian troops have martyred 2 more youths in southern district of Kulgam in occupied Kashmir. 7 civilians in the valley have been martyred in May so far. The police said civilians were killed during a cordon and search operation in Vanpura area. Local officials said Indian paramilitary troops have sealed all entry and exit points of the area. They said the operation is still underway in the area. The valley has been under Delhi-imposed curfew and communications blackout for the last 300 days. Pakistan Army says it has shot down another Indian spy drone at Kanzal-1 sector of line of control. In a tweet, military spokesman said an Indian spy quadcopter violated the country's airspace in Nekron sector. He said the drone intruded 700 meters into the Pakistani territory. Few days back, Pakistan Army shot down a similar drone in Rakhchakri sector of the LOC. Earlier, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan said India's expansionist policies are becoming a threat to the regional countries. In the US, protests against the killing of a black American have turned violent across the country. Thousands of people have taken to the streets in Atlanta, New York, Washington, and other cities, smashing windows and setting police vehicles ablaze. In New York City, clashes broke out between police and protesters, resulting in the arrest of 12 people. Hundreds of people also defied a curfew in Minneapolis by rallying in the city's downtown for the 4th day over George Floyds' custodial death. Police deployed tear gas to disperse crowds in downtown Atlanta as the city's mayor pleaded protesters to go home. In Washington, D.C., a protest outside the White House briefly caused the building to be placed on lockdown. Angry demonstrators across the country chant, "I can't breathe," invoking the last words of Floyd. Earlier, a prosecutor announced the former Minneapolis police officer responsible for the death of Floyd has been arrested and charged with murder. Now, more from the U.S. as it says it will end preferential treatment for Hong Kong in trade and travel in response to China's new security law in the territory. In a news conference at White House, President Donald Trump said Beijing has broken its word over Hong Kong's autonomy. Trump said China's move in Hong Kong is a tragedy for the entire world. He said the U.S. will impose sanctions on individuals responsible for smothering Hong Kong's autonomy. Trump said he has also directed his administration to begin the process of eliminating policy agreements on the territory. Meanwhile, Beijing has repeatedly warned against foreign interference in Hong Kong, saying it is China's internal matter. Malaysia's ex-Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad and 4 other former members have vowed to challenge their removal from the Bersatu party. Mahathir, along with his son and 3 other senior members, were expelled from the party in a power struggle with his successor. In a joint statement, the former premier said the unilateral action by Bersatu's president is due to his own fears in facing party elections. He said the party president is anxious over his unsafe position as the most unstable prime minister in the history of the country. Mahathir said he still has the majority support of legislators and has called for a no-confidence vote against Mohiuddin Yassin. The expelled members said they may take legal action to challenge their termination. The party has been split into two camps since intense political wrangling led Mahathir to resign as Prime Minister in February. Russia says the US has damaged international law on cooperation by withdrawing from the World Health Organization. In a press briefing, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said the world needs to consolidate its efforts to fight the COVID-19 outbreak. Zakharova said the sad picture that emerged in the US health system leaves Washington without an avenue to talk about leadership in this field. Earlier, US President Donald Trump cancelled America's WHO membership, accusing it of mishandling the pandemic. A 37-year-old Thai street artist is splashing walls across Bangkok with murals depicting the fight against coronavirus. Details in this report.
As the world recuperates from the novel coronavirus pandemic, an artist in Thailand has come up with a unique way of keeping the virus at bay. He paints murals on the walls of Bangkok. Going by the pseudonym Newborn, which means restless hands in Thai, the 37-year-old signature designs feature what he refers to as winged creatures. They resemble birds dressed as health workers fighting against an ominous-looking green coronavirus.
I want to play my part in reminding people about the situation and recording the history in which we all help each other by staying home to stop the spread of the virus.
Newborn said he preferred the canvas of the streets rather than a formal art gallery to exhibit his work so that it remains more accessible to the public.
On the basis of our society, there is a huge gap between art and the ordinary people. Thais are not into art. They don't really understand it. Therefore, I put artwork on the streets at places where people sitting in cars will be able to see it driving by, where they don't have to go to an art exhibition or a gallery to see the art.
Newborn prefers painting during the hours of night. Most of his spray paint murals take around 2 hours to finish. Although the artist says he is not popular in Thailand, his artwork has been displayed abroad in countries like Japan, the US, Germany, and most recently Palestine.
Thousands of Chilean families hard hit by the economic effects of coronavirus pandemic received food boxes. Let's find out more in this report.
The World Health Organization has declared Latin America a new epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic. Regional governments are struggling with how to keep their populations in lockdown with few financial resources and weak social systems. Protest in Chile restarted this week with skirmishes between police and people denouncing the highest job losses in a decade. Council workers backed by soldiers began handing out 2.5 million food parcels in Santiago.
These boxes arrived to us yesterday at the last minute, and we're articulating with the municipal team to also get here, where there is a middle class which is also suffering the impact of the crisis, a health crisis that is turning into an economic crisis.
Local media says the food boxes will reach 70% of the country's most vulnerable population.
We hope this will be resolved soon. We all have to cooperate, all the families, the whole country, everybody. If we don't take the right measures, we're going to stay infected. So I thank them and welcome the resources they are giving us.
The government has announced a rescue package equivalent to more than 5% of GDP, but opposition politicians and protest leaders says it is insufficient.
In the Czech Republic, the National Museum is opening an exhibition of face masks worn to protect against COVID-19. It aims to signal that one day the coronavirus will be history. More in this report.
Czech government was one of the first to make it compulsory to wear a mask outside the home. Although opinions differ on what kind of difference masks have made, when the crisis began, industrially made masks were in short supply, which prompted a nationwide effort to make them at home. Now they are being displayed at the National Museum.
It makes sense for sure because it shows the art and creativity of our people. It was exciting when the masks were not available all around the world, and our nation had made them in 3 weeks. Soon everyone had his own masks. even funny, nice, and artistically well made.
Among those on display is a mask with a map of the Prague metro made by an autistic teenager, and one created to raise awareness about ovarian cancer by a non-profit organization.
Some of the masks also feature love stories, like this mask from the wedding shirt of someone's husband. The lady was unable to throw it away until the coronavirus crisis, when she cut it and sewed masks for her husband.
The exhibition opens today, just as the government relaxes its mask policy. People will no longer have to wear them outdoors, but must still do so on public transport and in public buildings, including the museum.
We're now taking a short break, but stay tuned for more news. In our business section, we feature news from India as its economic growth has slumped to its lowest level at 3.1% in the first quarter of this year. Fresh data suggests the country's economy may be heading for a major shock in the June quarter. As per the data released by India's Statistics Department, the country's GDP grew only 4.2% against 6.1% of 2019. The first quarter included 1 week of lockdown in March that severely dented the manufacturing activity. India's 8 infrastructure sectors shrank by a record 38% during April. The data reveals the country's merchandise exports contracted by 60% in April. Analysts forecast that India's economy will face its worst recession in 40 years, contracting by at least 5% this fiscal year. Now let's look at the weather from around the globe. This is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.